call this back to order. We are discussing having the solicitor write a letter to the borough. That is where we are, and that is what we're voting on. So, we have a motion, we have a second. We have discussion from the board. Is there any discussion from the public? Hearing none? Oh, okay. Sorry, didn't see you.
No problem. My name is Eric Pomerantz. I live at 2 Dorchester Lane off 20 Bridge Road. I'm confused because I would assume that the operating principle for shared services among township and borough or any other governmental entity would be an equal share of the burden. And from what I understand, and maybe I'm wrong, it would seem that by allowing a $275,000 payment to suffice for the borough to get the full value of the township's fire protection services, that they are not paying an equal share. And therefore, at the same time, you're going to propose a millage increase, yet to be determined, but the budget appears to say 3 mills, to increase our taxes so that the borough can get a less than, they can pay a less than fair equal share. That doesn't seem to be what the Township Board of Supervisors should be advocating as a taxpayer in the township. Look, I'm all for being a good citizen and making sure that the borough, that their houses don't burn down. But this seems like they're leveraging that good feeling that we don't want to let their houses burn down against us so that they can pay less. And until they would come to us and say, we have done away with our entire discretionary budget and we simply don't have the money anymore, why should we cut them the break? If I don't have the money to take my kids on vacation because I have to pay the mortgage gets paid. So as long as they have a budget that hasn't wiped out all their discretionary spend to fund the essential services, I think it's really overstepping to ask the township citizens to absorb a millage increase where the borough isn't going to be paying their fair share.
They are raising taxes by, I believe 5 mil.
Will it make it a fair share?
Yes, they.
Well, how would it be if the number that Harrisburg says should be 350,000, and you yourself have just said in additional years it will go up drastically? That leads me to believe that no, the 275 is some kind of a discount that you offered them because we couldn't reach an agreement. And that seems like not the right way to negotiate. If we disagree long enough, you'll give us what we want?
Well, that won't be happening anymore. There will be no negotiation.
This year, I don't know what's going to happen anymore. I don't know what's going to happen next year, but we got a budget this year that's going to raise my taxes, and apparently there's a commitment to allow them to pay less than what they should pay. And I'm trying to understand that.
Yes.
How can we do that? How can you, as our representatives, raise our taxes at the same time you're giving the borough a freer ride, a cheaper bill? That makes very little sense to me economically, and it doesn't make much sense to me as you're representing our interests. I think Mr. Calabro just said it was, you're supposed to represent us.
Of course.
So why is it that you're going to raise our taxes for fire protection and give them the break? Give me the break.
No, I hear you. I absolutely agree.
And I think there are probably a number of other citizens of our community that would agree with me.
I'm sure a lot of them do.
So then why are we doing this?
Because we have always taken an approach of negotiation throughout the years.
And when someone refuses to negotiate, you yourself said they refuse to negotiate, the answer isn't give them what they want. The answer is to say, okay, fine, no deal. We're
letting them raise taxes in a rate that they can sustain while they And next year they're gonna have to raise
It
it a
isn't
lot.
our job
I
to
understand
determine
what
what
you're
they can
saying.
sustain. It's our job, your job, to help determine what we can sustain and to minimize the amount that we have to pay because somebody else decides they can't sustain. Do they still have a discretionary budget? Yes, they do. Their budget is not wiped out, their discretionary spend, and it only is essential services. Until that moment, we can't know what they can sustain. Because until they have taken all their money that they have to give from taxes that is discretionary and apportioned it to the essential services, we can't possibly know what they can sustain. So I think that's unfair to make an assumption about what they can sustain when you're not representing them. You don't have access necessarily to their information or the power to do anything about it. You have the power and the access to our information. So I'm confused. I'm confused by why this board apparently is more willing to give them the benefit of our dollars than to act on our behalf to protect our dollars. Why is that?
Well, I can try to answer that. The amount that they contributed this year was 180, I think, 180, roughly. And this is a big jump.
Yeah.
But
Dennis,
Just a minute, let him speak, please.
And this is 3-4 years ago, there was no contribution.
Are we able to go and say to the,
Go ahead.
well, I'm trying to understand why.
Excuse me, this is not a question and answer time. You can ask questions in public comment, you might get an answer, you might not. But we're explaining to you what we're voting on right now. And that is not up for a debate at this time by
Well,
the
then
public.
what?
Well,
then
it's
is
up
a
for
comment?
discussion on the motion. I think that's what this gentleman is doing, is discussing the motion. This is not public comment. This is a discussion of
Okay.
the motion.
All right,
Am I mistaken here?
no, you're not.
I mean, I'm objecting to the motion, given the fact that it appears that you're giving the borough a better deal than they would seem to deserve, given the fact that they haven't engaged in good faith negotiations. And the fact that they paid less before seems to fly in the face of logic. Sure, it was cheaper then, but look at the increased costs that are hitting us now. Look at what because everyone knows that that transitioning from the volunteer fireman to the paid fireman is expensive. And it's so expensive, in fact, that you're going to raise our millage. So I still can't understand, and I object to the concept of giving the borough a deal when you're paying for that deal out of our pockets with an increased millage for us.
I'd also mention that the formula we use for fair share calculation, in the beginning, the budget was arranged a little bit differently. So that the denominator of that percentage was lower. Now that denominator is higher, going forward, it was, say, and Mr. Lewis, you can correct me if I'm wrong, our fire services were 1.4 5 years ago, and now they're 4 point something, 4.2. So
I mean, all I want to know is that the people that use the service all pay equal share. I mean, to me, all the calculations in the world don't matter. If you're asking me to pay $10 for fire service, then each borough member should also pay $10 for fire service. And if that's not the way it's working, and they're paying less, it's somewhat crazy to then say, well, we're going to raise your millage, Newtown Township people, because these guys didn't want to pay what would otherwise be their equal share. And yes, we know how expensive it is because of the switch over to paid fire service, but that's the way the world's working now. We all have to, so we're going to have to tighten our belt. There are certain things that we're not going to be able to do in the township that we would like to do, or maybe are less important or less essential, like road paving, because we have to pay for these other things. And so I object to the concept of allowing them to have 275,000 when Harrisburg says it should be more. Other people that have looked at the budget say it should be more. And the concept of giving them a sliding scale to get there, that's not our job. Our job's not to give them the sliding scale. Our job is to say, this is what it's costing us. I'm trying to make it equal for everybody, and if you can't do it, figure out how you're going to do it.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, so we did have 4, yeah, sure.
Just to clarify, because there's too many numbers being.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Just to clarify, because there's too many numbers being thrown around for me. The 285 is the
75.
275, thank you. Is that what the Harrisburg equation said they should pay? Yes or no?
No.
What does it say they should pay?
I heard 500,000.
Well, heard, I appreciate your thing, but heard doesn't help it.
It's still
They
above the
s-
350.
No, they said it would be about 350 this year.
Okay,
But we didn't have that discussion with them until just recently.
okay,
Because, and so now we know that our calculations are right. But we still made an offer, we've been discussing this with them wrongly. We've been discussing with them, to try to come together
well,
on something that they obviously weren't willing to even think about. So now we're putting our foot down for next year. We have a number that 4 supervisors have agreed to, and we're gonna vote on that to send a letter to them to pay up.
Well, there may not be 4 supervisors anymore after hearing some of these criticisms. I think 350,000 should be a better number that we should put in there, if we're gonna put a number in. And I'd like to propose that we change whatever our consensus was to 350,000.
can I follow with my comments?
Sure.
I don't know. What I was gonna say, even, just because you had that conversation, if it's not in writing, it was before this formula was figured out. Then you go back and you say, look, we had misinformation. This is what it is. Okay, if you're saying it's supposed to be 350 and you figured out the 275,
Not me, don't point to me.
no, you knew the report, or somebody told me, I'm sorry.
I said 350 all
Yeah.
along.
Okay,
Can I just say,
but all I wanted to say was, negotiation is both of you sitting down. You don't have to be arbitrary and say it has to be, but negotiate from that, the 350 starting point or whatever it is. It's not fair to give them that substantial break, even if it was 300, it's not as substantial, and hit us with the thing, everything's going up, I know. That's all, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in. Thank you.
thank you. They have already addressed this in their budget by raising taxes for 5 mil, which is a big hit on that, and I know nobody
I'm not
cares.
worried about
I
the
know,
hit to
I
them.
hear you.
Maybe you are, maybe you should
Yes,
move
I
to the
am.
borough, maybe you should go live in the borough and go represent them on the council. Resign from the Board of Supervisors because you seem to want to be in the borough. I think it's
I think that's
disgraceful.
a ridiculous thing to say.
No, it's not a ridiculous thing to say because all you've been doing this whole time is siding with you and Dennis, siding with the borough. Now you said we've been proven right at 350. We have proof. We can go back to them and say now we have proof. 350 is the number. And I hate to say this, but going back even further, they're the ones that say they didn't even want our services. They said after January 1st they didn't want us until we went back and said, oh, no, please, put our foot down. We didn't put our foot down. We went and catered to what they want. And now we have proof that we were right at 350 and we should be changing it to the 350, of which Harrisburg proved us to be correct on. But no, let's give them the 275. Oh, they came up from what, 190? They weren't paying their proper pricing back then. We pay $4 million in the budget Now, if they want 50% of our services, then actually give us $2 million. But I gotta worry about either that, or they could build their own firehouse and get their own fire department, which is gonna cost them about $5 to $10 million to do. I think they're doing their people an injustice by not giving us $350,000.
Well, it seems to make sense, considering that they also said they're not gonna pay the workers' compensation any longer for the Newtown Fire Association. And I notice in an agreement that's coming up for consideration, that the township will take over that payment if necessary. So we're already agreeing to pay more into these funds and not getting enough from the borough. So this more recent information that came to me makes me want to change my mind. I would go with 350.
And didn't they refuse to talk to Harrisburg?
We just sent them the invitation, and they
Okay.
have not agreed
Well,
to the
apparently,
work,
because
to the
they
work
know-
session yet, but that just happened within the last few days.
Because they're not stupid, they know 275 is a better deal. I mean, come on. But we're not forcing their hand. We're not doing anything to say, we're right, 350 was proven right by Harrisburg. We could send them a letter just like they sent us. You don't wanna pay 350? Then as of January 1st, there's no fire services. They said it to us first. They said it to us. They didn't want ours. They didn't want
Okay.
our services.
They opted out in May. They sent us a letter in May that they're opting out.
So,
They-
if you all wanna make up a number, you may do so. I will vote against it. You can make up your own number, and, you know, without listening, perhaps we have the chief right here. Perhaps you would want to ask him some questions about,
There are two numbers, 275 and 350.
no, that is not the exact number, 350. It's a different calculation.
Well, I'm going with
Well,
Mr. Calabro suggested.
but he hasn't been in any of those meetings, so that's what
I
he
wish I had. I
suggested.
wish maybe we need 2 new negotiators to go negotiate with the borough because there's nothing
We're
being
not going
done.
to do any more negotiations. We're just going to bill them the right amount from now on. And we started on this path this year, and I believe we should finish it in good faith. If you don't believe that,
We
then you
got-
can overrule me.
No, I don't think we're doing anything in good faith because again,
Well, I
the
heard
good faith
you
is,
keep
the
saying
good
it.
faith is to the people of our township, not to your people of your borough.
Okay, should we agree to table this at the moment, to come up with a different number? Because I don't think we're gonna have an agreement. Unless you all want to have an
Well,
agreement
let's
on
ask,
some other number.
Who's for 350? I'm for 350.
I'll go with 350.
I'll go with 350. There's 3 right
There you go.
Make the motion, Don.
I'll make a motion that we send the letter out and specify 350 for the year of 2026 and leave it at that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion from the board? Any from the public? Any more from the public? Hearing, can we just vote on this?
Just ask.
I know, but you've already spoken, you've spoken.
I haven't attended many of your meetings, but it's an education, and as a teacher, I'm always all about education. And what I'm seeing tonight, my own personal opinion, is disagreement, which is healthy, but also, on behalf of some of the members of the board, a my way or the highway attitude regarding specific issues going on in the township. I'll refer to my own issue in Newtown Gate and what I've just experienced listening right now. And I commend the 3 members of the board who have decided to work on behalf of the township residents and not the borough residents to have the borough pay their fair share. And I agree with Phil, if they don't like it, let them build their own firehouse. Let's start working for the township residents. We pay your salaries, we pay the salaries of our police, and I know it's a drop in the bucket. But the point is, you work for us, not for the borough, not for some unknown entity who decided he wants cars ticketed on Fountain Farm Lane. You work for us. And I have seen disagreement tonight showing, in my opinion, that that's not always the case. And I don't like it. I'm a 55-year resident. Don't know how long you've been in the township, but I have addressed this board many times in years past. Issues going back to the infamous northern bypass on the bypass issue. That was going to go right over my property at the time. I promise you, this issue with Fountain Farm isn't over, and I will fill this auditorium with residents in upcoming meetings until we get a resolution that is satisfactory. And
Thank you,
to-
but we are
to hear that
discussing,
the law
this
is
is,
the law.
what,
Fine,
this is the
you can discuss
solicitor's,
what you want. I'm
this
just
is
saying.
not what we're talking about right now. Do you understand? This is not on the agenda.
General to the public how you're conducting yourself. And Ms. Snyder, you're the chairman of the board. You've been overruled.
Well, I had 4
Well,
votes before
Well,
this.
you lost them. And I dare
Apparently so.
say it's because of the back and forth that I'm listening to that it wasn't clear to Phil, it wasn't clear to John and Kyle about this number. And it should be when it affects our taxes and what we're gonna be charged. So I agree with these gentlemen and I disagree with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second?
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Aye? No? Right. Motion passes 3-2.